Shanghai, China. Welcome to this live stream. So, before I say anything else, I need to make sure that the live stream is actually coming through. So I'm going to refresh my screen a few times just to make sure it's showing up. And once I get confirmation of the audio and the video, then we will get started. But until then, I suppose I'll yap a little bit. So there we go, it's shown up on my page. Just a couple more clicks of the button to do an audio check here. Sweet, brave little Spidey is in the chat and says the audio and video are good. I just need to see if I can load the chat up on a larger screen so I can see all of your comments. Okay. There we go. The chat is loaded up. SBV is here. Crow Guy 132 is here. Brave Little Spidey is here. DMC is here. And yeah, you have caught a live stream. Congratulations. So, as the title of this live stream says, I looked at Reddit. I haven't looked at Reddit in a very, very long time. Once in a while, I will Google my own name to see if anybody is saying anything about me or commenting on videos of mine, etc., outside of YouTube. And yeah, there seems to be a lot of people angry people on Reddit. Hundreds of them that over the years have written some pretty toxic things, man. It's yes, basically Ramsey Dewey doesn't know what he's talking about. Ramsey Dewey has fallen off the wagon. I don't know how many times I heard that expression. I thought falling off the wagon meant an alcoholic that has gone sober and then starts drinking again. I've never touched alcohol in my life, so I don't understand the falling off the wagon metaphor. So, the one positive thing about looking at Reddit is I suppose it inspired me to do a live stream here. Crow Guy 132 says, the only thing I'm not going to trust RD on is going to be shampoo recommendations. What are you talking about, man? My hair is glorious. I know it's very short. But, yeah, okay, seriously, yeah, I'm probably not a great guy to give you shampoo recommendations because I generally wash my head with soap, man. You don't want to use that on your hair. So how's everybody doing? Let's take a look at some of these Reddit conversations. Some of them are kind of funny. Some of them are pretty aggravating. Some of them are, yeah, I don't know. They just are. One such example, this one, I guess it was posted 4 years ago from a guy titling this Reddit post, "Are Shaolin monks legit or not? Can they actually fight?" So he starts his post out saying, I've seen a lot of mixed opinions regarding this online. Well, I've heard a lot of people, such as Ramsey Dewey in a video a while back, claiming that Shaolin monks can't actually fight. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You watched part of a podcast with Dr. Antonio Gracefo, a man who lived at the Shaolin Monastery over the course of 2 decades and trained there. And I asked him point blank, can Shaolin monks actually fight? And he, not I, he, the man who lived and trained at Shaolin, at the Shaolin temple, said, no, they would get killed instantly. So, essentially, I brought in an expert witness here. And, yeah, man, it's fascinating. Regardless of what you say, and other people say, people's memories are fascinating. Okay, what other, okay, we got some questions in the chat. What bald guy uses shampoo? My older brother is bald. My brother Joseph, you've seen him on the channel a couple of times if you watch all of my videos. He's joined me a few times. He is bald. He uses shampoo. And he he explained to me that just because he's bald doesn't mean he shouldn't have the privilege of using shampoo. Okay, what else do we have? All right, looks like some folks are talking about the Ultimate Self-Defense Championship again in the chat. Yeah, will I be doing the Ultimate Self-Defense Championship anymore? No, hell no, heck no, friends. Miss me with that noise. All right, let's look at some of these other Reddits here. Here's a Reddit that came up 5 years ago. Why the beef? From Papa Keegan, who says, I'm not sure if this fits here, but as they are both martial artists, I'll put it here. Why is there beef between Icy Mike and Ramsey Dewey? There is. There's beef. I enjoy beef. I enjoy a good steak or a bison burger. Those are tasty, but what is going on here? And is it real? No, it's not real. I've seen a few videos of them knocking one another. No, you haven't. And I've watched both Ramsey for philosophical views on stuff and Icy for old laughs when he tests out self-defense weapons. Anyway, thanks for your time. Yeah, no, you haven't seen videos of me beefing with Icy Mike. You might have seen a video where Icy Mike did a impersonation of myself and Master Wong, and a few months later I made a video doing an impersonation of Icy Mike. Now, when I met Icy Mike in person, we had a hilarious conversation about that, because Mike put his heart and soul into that impersonation. He put his heart and soul into that. He studied my videos meticulously, trying to get the cadence and the body language and everything down. And he got so annoyed because when I did an impersonation of him, I basically just put on a Gandalf beard, waved my hands around a lot, and said, the thing is... He was like, I put so much effort into that, and you just put on the Gandalf beard and waved your hands, and people loved it. There are different ways to do impersonations. See, like, Mike's version, it's great. He's kind of like a method actor. He studies the character. He tries to get all the nuances down. But there's another way to do a parody, which is just hyperfixate on a couple of things. And if you're pressed for time, like I am, and you don't have time to study all of Icy Mike's mannerisms, a simple way to do a parody is just focus on a couple of things. Like I notice when Mike talks, he moves his hands a lot. And also he starts a lot of phrases with the phrase, the thing is. And so I just over-exaggerated those two things a lot. And people were like, it's exactly like him. It's not. It's a parody. It's an exaggeration. Sweet, we have a super chat from Brave Little Spidey, who says, glad to see you back online. I was getting concerned and just hoping you were busy. However, I had seen you comment on McDojo Life Instagram. Question, what have you been up to since your last upload? Oh, well, a few things. I had a visit from our friend Jeff Chan from the MMA Shredded channel. He was here in Shanghai. We filmed some content together. I've got a podcast with Jeff that we did. Jeff doesn't usually do long-form content, but I managed to get him to sit down long enough to speak for about 90 minutes. Maybe it was about 2 hours. We shot the breeze for a while. I hope you guys enjoy that. I'll be uploading that one soon on this channel. So, yeah, we did some sparring. We went to the UFC Performance Institute and sparred with the guys over there. Went on kind of a tour of the various gyms in town, introduced Jeff to some of the best guys I know in martial arts over here in Shanghai, including my friend Jawad Mahmoudi, who is, you might not know who he is, but he is, like, frankly, one of the best as far as striking goes that you can ever meet in your life, dude. And hopefully we'll be having Jawad's brother on the podcast also soon. Elias Mahmoudi, he's a professional fighter, fights for 1FC, an excellent striker. And, yeah, he's one of those guys you need to know about. if you are interested in striking. So, yeah, we got some stuff going on here. And yes, Jawad is the guy who taught the ghost kick. The ghost kick is money. So it was really interesting getting Jawad and Jeff Chan in the same room together and basically trying to upload some of Jawad's knowledge into Jeff's mind. And Jeff was like, "This is like blowing my mind. This is awesome." And it was some great synergy to see those two get together and exchange notes. So yeah, Jeff filmed a bunch of content over here in Shanghai. We did some shuaijiao, some traditional Chinese folk wrestling with the sleeveless jacket. That was fun. That's a really fun sport. What else? We did a little bit of sparring. Introduced him to my friend Kyle, and yeah, some other fighters I know. Yeah, good stuff. All right, what other questions do we have? WWE Kelly says, big question, Ramsey. Do you think the conditioning of today's athletes are better today than what it used to be in the 2000s and the 1990s? That's an interesting question, because generally when I get questions like that, it's like, how do you compare today's athletes to guys from the 1800s? And yeah, we can say, yeah, we've made a lot of advancements in strength and conditioning and technique and all kinds of things since the 1800s, but the 2000s and the 1990s. Okay, now you say athletes generally, but I'm going to mixed martial arts athletes. So is the conditioning athletes used today in the sport of mixed martial arts better than in the early days of the UFC? Hell yes, of course it is. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, by and large, I would say that many people in the mixed martial arts industry, in the coaching industry, in the strength and conditioning industry, in MMA, are largely working on guesswork and bro science and things like that. But as far as high-level professionals go, yeah, they've got it much more dialed in than they did 20, 30, 40 years ago. Brave Little Spidey got promoted to green belt 2 weeks ago in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. Cool, congratulations. All right. If I see some more questions, I will answer them. In the meantime, let's go back to Reddit posts. On the Shaolin thread, Ranton, the YouTuber, wrote a post about me, and he also said that I claimed the Shaolin monks can't fight. Dude, I was interviewing an expert witness who lived and trained at Shaolin longer than you, my friend, over the course of 2 decades. And I asked him if Shaolin monks can fight. And he said, no. Did people watch that video or not? Or do they think that Antonio Gracefo and myself look the same? Can you not tell the difference between different human faces and body shapes and hairstyles and things like that? But look, if I trust Antonio Gracefo's opinion on the subject. He is a lifelong martial artist. He boxed, he wrestled, he lived at the Shaolin Temple, he trained there. What else? He was a professional fighter well into his 50s, and he's still actively competing and training. Is he the best fighter ever? No, but has he done the thing? Has he got out there and trained? Does he speak from experience? He's got a PhD in Wushu from the Shanghai University of Sport, specialty in shuaijiao, Chinese folk wrestling. He knows a few things about combat, and he knows a few things about the Shaolin monks and his experience there. So, I'm going to go with what he says over with what people on the internet say that I said that I didn't say. That is annoying. It is so annoying when people misattribute quotes to you. All right, let's look at a couple more of these Reddit rants. Ramsey Dewey should already shut up about weapon sparring. He only looks bad. Aiden Metalist on Reddit has written, oh man, this is a long thread. He wrote a whole novel. He wrote a whole novel. That is amazing. So I made a video about a year ago titled something like, sparring is not the same as fighting. Yeah, man. And simulations are not the same as violence. Focusing on those two topics. And somehow, actually I know exactly how. Skolagrim, a historical European martial arts YouTuber, right after I put out the video, without even giving it time to breathe or anybody to watch it, made a response video to it. And instead of watching his actual response, which was just a pretty measured response, like, I agree with this part, I don't agree with that part, this is nice, not so much, whatever. People who generally watch like the first 30 seconds of a YouTube video came over to my channel and just started posting the most inflammatory straw man arguments in the comment section, saying, why do you hate HEMA practitioners? Why are you making fun of Skolagrim? I didn't say anything about Skolagrim. Skolagrim said things about me. People get things so backwards. Anyway, we'll give that one a skip. Okay. Why is Ramsey Dewey popular? I'm popular? Wow. This one is from 6 years ago. This guy says he's a competent instructor and all, but I'm curious as to why he's popular online. I'm curious about why anybody might think I'm popular online. Is it because of his video style? Sitting in front of an iPhone and talking to a microphone with a blue wall in the background. What an incredible video style. Maybe that's what people crave. Did you see the trailer for Sora 2, that AI video making app that can make photorealistic movies of whatever the heck you can think up, and a lot of it is indiscernible from reality, and you can make deepfakes or whatever you want, and it also does audio. It does voices. So you could make a video of, oh, I don't know, Ramsey Dewey saying whatever the heck you wanted to say on the moon, riding a unicorn if you really wanted to. And this is a little bit concerning because it made me think everybody is going to think everything on the internet is fake now, except for perhaps the lowest effort content, like a dude sitting in a chair in front of a blue wall talking into a microphone with his iPhone on in front of a crowd on a live stream. Maybe live streams are the last vestige of, or they will be the last vestige of trustworthy content from real humans that you know are real humans and not AI-generated images. Let's see here. Some people speculate, why is Ramsey Dewey popular? It's that dreamy voice. Wow. That dreamy, dreamy voice. Let's see here. His voice is very pleasant. A lot of comments about my voice, so I guess people like my voice. And then, oh, what? I had come to understand he speaks slowly due to brain damage. Wow. Wow. I speak slowly because of brain damage. Oh, man. This is a response to this thread that says, I'm a little tired of his videos at this point, and his whole slow, overthinking, sensei demeanor. That said, the guy usually speaks very plainly, very common-sensey, and in a polite manner, not necessarily common in martial arts, though some of his Master Wong-type videos got a bit much. I had come to understand he speaks slowly due to brain damage. Wow. Wow. So apparently the people of Reddit think I am brain damaged. All right, guys. So yeah, Vali Gomu, yeah, says in regard to the AI video issue, this is becoming a problem here in France. The president got slapped by his wife on camera and immediately said it was an AI video made by the Russian government. Yeah, and apparently now you don't even need the government, you just need an iPhone app that can make convincing videos. I saw a series of videos made on Sora 2 about Stephen Hawking doing some pretty crazy things. You know, the late Stephen Hawking, physicist who was bound to a wheelchair, getting pulled over by a cop and racing off at breakneck speed and doing flips on gymnastics rings in his wheelchair, etc., etc. And it looked real, except for the unreal, fantastical aspects of what this paralyzed man in a wheelchair was doing. But yeah, the audio and the video, crazy believable. And this time last year, AI video was in the realm of super uncanny valley. And now we're like 2 steps away from the holodeck from Star Trek. That's nuts to think about. What else does Reddit say? There's so many angry posts about me on Reddit. Like, what is happening here? So many angry ones. I mean, they're probably the only one where anyone says anyone nice here, or anything nice, is the, why is Ramsey Dewey popular? And a few people are like, I like Ramsey Dewey because of this and that, the other. And yet this thread is still filled with, I hate Ramsey Dewey. He sucks. What else? Ramsey Dewey has a speech impediment and can only talk clearly when he talks slowly. I've seen some of his videos where he talks a bit faster, and he stumbled on his words a bit. I have a speech impediment. You know, my first grade teacher thought I had a speech impediment because I'm a first-generation American, and I grew up speaking a different dialect of English than what is commonly spoken in the United States of America. My mother is from the north of England, and so I grew up speaking this hybrid of Geordie English and growing up in a small farming town in America. And my first grade teacher thought I had a speech impediment because I couldn't pronounce the letter R correctly because, you know, I used to speak with a, how can I put this, more of a British accent like my mother did. So the teacher calls my mother in for a parent-teacher conference and says, yes, we need to put your son into speech therapy because he can't pronounce the letter R correctly. And this teacher had no idea my mother was British, no idea she was from Northern England, no idea she spoke with a Northern English dialect. And my mother is like, what do you mean my Ramsey can't pronounce the letter R correctly? He says it just the same as I do. And the teacher is like, you have a speech impediment too. So that did not end well. That meeting did not end well. SBV says, you still say yours the same way a guy from North England would say it. I still say a lot of things the way I used to. It's like certain words just never really changed. For example, here are a few. So you might say words like opportunity, picture, pitcher, words with a T that makes a ch sound, ch, like cheese. But in America, most people don't say things like tuna fish, Tuesday, and so on, where the T is at the beginning of a word. But in my mother's neck of the woods, they would say it that way. I had the opportunity to eat tuna fish on a Tuesday. What a stupid thing to say. So yes, that is a linguistic trait that's always stuck with me. Mean Peter 1 says, yes, but how do you pronounce aluminium? I suppose aluminium. How do you pronounce aluminium? Sweet, Marshall Geeks is back in the chat. Welcome, my friend. Okay, what else do we have on Reddit? Oh, this one was a doozy. This is one of the more recent posts on Reddit from Aikido Education. Oh, I remember this guy. This guy wrote a series of extremely derogatory posts about myself, and also Rokas Leonavicius from the Martial Arts Journey channel. He came to my channel, left a series of very long diatribes about how awful I am, and I invited him to appear live on my podcast, to air his dirty laundry to the world if he wanted to. He said, "No, I would never do that because you would make me sound stupid," or something like that. And then he proceeded to just say some pretty awful things, to the point where I got sick of it and just banned him from the channel. His Reddit thread is titled, "Ramsey Dewey cowardly hides my posts. No, I blocked you from my channel because you're a jerk. How can I put that any more kindly?" So he writes this really long post, and he quotes what he said and what I said, and my posts are very short. His posts are very long. My posts are, let's see here. I invite you to appear on my podcast. He says, "Hell no, get away from me, you nasty thing." And the replies are great. The replies are great. "Nothing like a Reddit martial arts schizo post to go with the morning coffee." Too long, didn't read. Some small Aikido content creator thinks Rokas from Martial Arts Journey is a fake Aikido black belt and thinks Ramsey Dewey intentionally promotes this fact. Because, as you all know, I make so many videos about how Rokas from the Martial Arts Journey channel is a legit Aikido black belt, right? Right. Yeah, file that under things that have never happened. Oh, wow. This is fascinating. Okay, I'm going to skip all this. Some of the replies are pretty funny, but wow. Aikido education. That was a very special conversation. Let's see here. I'm going to look at one more Reddit thread here. Probably not even the most interesting one. Oh man, we got Jeff Phillips over there. Jeff from 1 year ago, and Jeff Phillips is still bad-mouthing me on the internet. Dude, what the heck? Give it a rest. "How confident are you to spar with YouTube martial artists? Whom are you most and least confident sparring against? Sensei Seth, Icy Mike, Jesse Enkamp, Rokas Leo, Shane Faison, Master Wong, Ramsey Dewey, DKU, and other YouTube martial artists. How do you rate your chances against them?" I guess he's conflating sparring with fighting. I've sparred with some of these guys. I've sparred with Jeff Chan a few times. I spent about 20 seconds on a bus hugging Sensei Seth while being thrown around from seat to seat by the movement of the bus. I spent about 20 seconds hugging Rokas Leo on a bus because we got wedged onto the floor. I fell on top of him, basically, and we were stuck there. And I spent about 20 seconds hugging Icy Mike against the seat of a bus. So that doesn't really count as sparring. But other than that, yeah, the only one of those guys I've sparred with was Jeff Chan. And I sparred with him several times. I think Jeff Chan is a great guy to spar with because he knows how to control his sparring. Not all people do. I've said this before on my channel. I would trust Jeff to spar with my daughters, with my kids, because that's the type of control that he has. But this guy is talking about fighting. And most of the people in the comments seem to be talking about fighting, like how confident they would be fighting. The various YouTubers. Some of the people point out the difference between sparring and fighting. And they say, I would gladly spar with any of these guys because they seem like they would be fun to spar with. And if you were like, I would destroy them all. Especially Ramsey Dewey. This is a great comment. Any McDojo fatso could spar Ramsey Dewey and hand him his ass. All right. Are we done with Reddit today? Maybe I'll look at it again in 7 years if it still exists. Let's close these Reddit pages and get back to the chat. Let's open this up to a live Q&A. All right, if you have questions you want answers to, then let me know. And if there are any super chats, those will get priority. Let's backtrack on the chat and see if we missed anything important. Let's see here. We discussed aluminium. Agricola Urbana says, I lately saw a video about reading levels and related writing skills of American college students. It was catastrophic. The majority of them never read a book and said they were never taught that skill. Yeah, unfortunately, the art of reading and reading comprehension and going to college to get smart seems to be a dying art. Especially in America these days. Yeah, the level of stupid in the world seems to be going up in certain sectors, but the level of smart, fortunately, is also going up. Unfortunately, the level of stupid seems to be matching the level of smart at every turn. Do I have any new videos planned? Huh. Yes, I do. You probably want more details than that, don't you? Redfire wants to know, will I watch the 3rd season of the Ultimate Self-Defense Championship? Nope. What's your opinion on it? Don't have one. Is it legit or useful or just for entertainment? It's entertainment. The Ultimate Self-Defense Championship, honestly, in my opinion, has little to nothing to do with self-defense. It is a reality show where they play games, loosely based on martial arts or self-defense concepts. Michael Musica says, what is your opinion on using cable pulls for training punches? Pulling exercises are excellent for training punches more so than most other resistance exercises. Now, by pull, I mean pull. As in pull, exercise your shoulders and the muscles around your shoulder blades. So that those are the most pertinent strength training exercises for punching. Why? Because as far as upper body movement, the body mechanics of a punch, the most important movement is going to be the opposite shoulder coming back to generate force in the arm going forward. Now, there's more than that. As far as lower body involvement, engagement of the feet, falling steps, footwork, etc., hip action, so on and so forth. Michael Music says, I meant in reverse pushing against the cable. So why do I recommend pulling exercises over pushing exercises? Well, I just told you, because pulling is the operative body mechanic in a punch, more so than pushing. I know we think a punch is like a push because our arm goes outward in a similar fashion to how our arms might go out if we're doing a pushing exercise. But it's not a push. It is a completely different muscular or set of muscular contractions. Will pushing exercises make you worse? No. Is it the optimal way to train for harder punches or whatever you're trying to accomplish there? Nope. Not a lot of questions today. Valley Gomu says, I couldn't tell a legit Aikido black belt from a fake Aikido black belt. Yeah, I know, right? I know, right? Also, I think Rokas is the only Aikido practitioner that is less than 65 years old. Why is that so funny? It's funny because it's true, man. That's what really makes Rokas stand out in the Aikido community, is that he's a fairly young man in a martial art where most of the practitioners are senior citizens and or morbidly obese. Wow, I don't know. Huh. Tay Slay Wifeit says, hi coach, just curious, are Chinese weapon training classes popular where you live? No, not really. If yes, do they focus more on forms or on competitive preparations like in HEMA? Basically, the only Chinese weapon training that I see on a regular basis is taijiquan, the taiji sword. And that is entirely taolu. It's all forms. If you go out at like 7 in the morning and walk around, you'll see old people doing taiji in the park, sometimes taiji twin forms, and sometimes taiji jin with the sword, and they'll move that around and do all these dance-like poses, and it's cool. Does it have anything to do with sparring? Not that I've seen. Does it stem from some sort of practice related to combat? Sure, of course it does. Do I or the people who do it understand the historical ramifications of what they're doing? Not always. Red Fire says, have you tried Taiji and is it different from yoga? Yes and yes. Taiji is very different from yoga. Yoga is a series of exercises and breathing and meditative practices, and Taiji is a martial art. Now, when you say Taiji, it conjures up a lot of different images. A lot of people think about different aspects of Taiji. For example, most Tai Chi practitioners who call themselves Tai Chi practitioners using that pronunciation of the word anyway, think of old people in the park doing forms, and that's about it. Or doing breathing exercises, or doing a standing meditation. And there are different aspects to Taiji. There is the forms, the Taolu. There is the standing meditation, the standing moving meditation, the Zhanzhuang. There is the breathing exercises, the Qigong. And that's all part of it, but at its core, Taiji Chuan is unarmed combat, Taiji Jin is sword fighting. And so, yeah, that's different than yoga. Like, even if you look at the meditative exercise aspects of Taiji that old people do, yeah, that's still different than yoga. Is Wushu legit? Says Chun Boys Z. Well, in the modern world, when we say Wushu, which means war art, basically martial art, but when we say that, we're generally talking about Taolu, forms, traditional Chinese martial arts forms. Are traditional Chinese martial arts forms legit? Well, look, if it's a real traditional Chinese martial arts form, then I guess that's legit. If you just made up a form that looks vaguely old and Chinese, then I guess it's not legit. Brave Little Spidey says, Hema is short for hematoma. That's why they wear armor. Hematoma, if you don't know, is a fancy word for bruise. SBV says, Ramsey, what is your opinion on luta livre? So, in Brazil, they have a martial art combat sport, luta livre, which means free wrestling, basically. It's a grappling art. I have heard of it. I have seen some practitioners of it. Um, I've never met or trained with anybody who has claimed expertise in that particular style. So I can't tell you a whole lot other than I've seen it on the internet. And I've seen, what I've seen, it reminds me a lot of catch wrestling in the fact that there are some really good catch wrestlers, and there are a lot of crappy wrestlers who call themselves catch wrestlers, and there's everything in between. It's when we have a really popular style. This is interesting to me. When we have a really popular style with a lot of people doing it, we have the potential for two things. One, a large talent pool to draw from that can push that style or martial art forward. We saw this with, for example, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. A lot of people got excited about BJJ after UFC 1, started training in it, and now BJJ is huge, and there are a lot of very talented grapplers coming from Jiu-Jitsu. Transversely, catch wrestling. There are some exceptionally good catch wrestlers out there, but the talent pool is much smaller than BJJ because it's not as popular. And so it's going to be easier to run into less talented catch wrestlers and say, catch wrestling sucks. Meanwhile, the really talented ones are going to say, what did you say? I'm going to twist you into a pretzel, you little wimp. I get the feeling that that's kind of what is happening in Brazil with Luta Livre, is that there are probably some talented Luta Livre guys in Brazil who probably have a bad reputation because there is just less of it than Jiu-Jitsu. And I kind of got the feeling some of these guys walk around with a chip on their shoulder because of that. Who is the best fighter in the UFC today? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's put some options in the chat. Who do you think is the best fighter in the UFC today? That question has changed a lot because like 10, 20, 30 years ago, we always had an answer to that. People just throw that out there. GSP is the best pound for pound fighter of all time, etc. John Jones, the best fighter of all time. At his peak, Matt Hughes, when he was UFC champion, best fighter of all time. People would throw out a name like that, and most people would just sort of agree. But I'm curious what you guys think right now, because it seems like there are so many more names in contention for this argument. Some people are saying Islam Makhachev, Topuria, 2 votes for Topuria. 3 votes for Topuria. Okay. I'm going to have to start paying more attention to this guy. Jeffrey Epstein, super friend, says, I'll answer that question soon, but I'm still waiting for Logan Paul to buy and schmooze his way into the UFC. Yes, once Logan Paul gets his way into the UFC, then we will have an answer of who is truly the greatest pound-for-pound fighter of all time in the UFC. Maybe Aspinall, but we need to see more of him. Another question. I'm not sure how to pronounce this name. It's written in Cyrillic. My Cyrillic is a little rusty, but our friend says, hey Ramsey, would you ever want to do breakdowns of UFC grappling exchanges? For example, Gamrot versus Oliveira 2. Man, I would love to do, I'd love to do a lot of breakdowns of UFC content. The downside is the UFC won't let you. A lot of YouTubers over the years have tried to do it. Like, Faraz Zahabi did some really great breakdowns of various grappling exchanges in the UFC, just like what you're asking for, and they were amazing. They were wonderful. I loved to watch those. And I made some myself as well, and the UFC came down on all of us who were doing that and said, no, this is copyrighted content. Copyright strike for you. Copyright strike for you. And yeah, some of us almost lost our channels because of that. So as a and we tried different things. Like one thing Faraz Zahabi did, instead of showing the video clips that he was breaking down, he would show still pictures, and they still gave him a copyright strike for that, and he almost lost his channel over that issue. I've made a couple of videos where I tried to reenact things that grappling exchanges that have happened in the UFC. I did one for Derek Lewis, Derek Just Stand Up Lewis, where people were just sort of brushing aside, just casually brushing aside his grappling skills, saying, "Oh, he's just an anomaly. He can just stand up." And I'm like, no, this is how he did it. It's actually quite technical to stand up when you are pinned on the ground. And this is what he did, and I broke that down. People seem to like that video, but I wasn't able to show much of the actual UFC footage. So it's tough, man. It's tough when you want to make content about the UFC, but the UFC won't let you. SBV says, how does MMA Che get away with making analysis videos? I don't know. I know some guys seem to be able to get away with it, and I don't know if they're just completely demonetized videos or just sliding under the radar, or they're doing something in their video editing that is making the robots not detect what they are doing. I don't know. I don't know how some people get away with it, but I have not been able to. Faraz Zahabi hasn't been able to. Some other big YouTubers who have tried have not been able to do that. Jeffrey Epstein, Super Friends, says this: I would watch an MMA talent show where my favorite YouTube coaches each get to train a team. Team PG versus Team Ramsey versus Team Seth versus Team Heart to Hurt, and so on. Dude, that would be awesome. That would be amazing. Have like an Ultimate Fighter type of show, but with the YouTube coaches as the coaches. Dude, I would love to do that. That's right up my alley because I am a coach, which reminds me of another thing I saw on Reddit, which was, I don't have it pulled up. I'll just try to say it from memory. These people said, which of all the martial arts YouTubers is your favorite or the best, but the only ones that count are career YouTubers, the ones for whom YouTube is their main thing. And a bunch of people said, Ramsey Dewey, and I'm like, YouTube is not my main thing. Coaching is my main thing. If YouTube was my main thing, dude, I would be out on the streets homeless, because YouTube, if you have a minimum wage part-time job, you are making a lot more money than I have ever made on YouTube. This is like a hobby at best, man. This is a mild supplemental income at best, what I do here on YouTube, man. If you are trying to support yourself with a YouTube channel, with a following like mine, with views like mine, etc., you are going to starve to death. You can't afford to have it be your main thing. But anyway, I digress. I would love to see that. I would love to, get a bunch of teams of interested people who want to train to be MMA fighters and have the various people claiming expertise in training MMA fighters train them for like, I don't know, let's say 6 months or something like that. It's not a long time, but it's enough time to produce some amateur fighters, and then have them go at it, see how it goes. That would be sweet. I mean, forget the ultimate self-defense nonsense. That would be fantastic. It's a great idea. Somebody finance that. The downside of this is the logistics, of course. It's the logistics because you've got people spread out across the world. I'm in Shanghai. Mike is in the U.S. Gabriel Varga, he's up in Canada. You know, all these YouTubers are spread out across the world. And next, we're recruiting teams. And so essentially, I would have to recruit a team from China, more or less. And the other guys would recruit teams from wherever they are. And so really, one of the main skill sets we're talking about right here isn't actually coaching, it's recruiting fighters. Now, if we could do some sort of controlled experiment where we could give everybody blank slates who are exactly the same, and then see how they are able to make a difference there, that would be an interesting scientific experiment. But look, there are some people who are insanely talented and athletic naturally. And when you can find one of those guys who has a genuine interest and passion in fighting, you have a potential champion on your hands. There are a lot of people who are really interested in fighting and learning, and they're willing to do the work, and they are not that. They're not naturally talented or athletic, and over time, yeah, they will improve. And over time, give them years, maybe they could even be competitive. Maybe they could even become a champion. But with the format I propose, like train these guys for 6 months, yeah, you're going to see basically the best athletes are the ones who are going to succeed regardless of their coaching and training. Redfire wants to know, have I met Shaolin monk Shi Hong Yi and his insights on martial arts? I have not met him. I believe he lives in Europe. So, yeah, we're not exactly in the same neighborhood. So basically, as far as that video series, YouTube contender, whatever you want to call it, Ultimate Fighter concept, I really like the idea. The logistics would be a nightmare, though. You would have to get like all of those guys to be willing to essentially live in the same place and like train at the same facility, set a bunch of control mechanisms in place. But that's gonna be tough because, yeah, reasons. SBV says, I come to realize I actually don't like hitting people in the face, and I would like to focus more on grappling, but I would still like to be good at striking. Well, cool. Yeah. Most people don't actually enjoy hitting other people in the face. It's funny because the first martial art most people try is a striking art, because that seems to jive more with what's going on with our feelings. We feel like that would be easier to do. We feel like that would be better. But then when the reality of actually punching somebody in this sacred place right here comes up and you do it, for most people, it feels icky, man. It feels gross to punch somebody else in the face. Like, we glorify it so much. We see the big knockouts in the UFC and we cheer, yeah, yeah. We put ourselves in that place and it's not the same. It's not the same feeling. It's like, I don't know, man. It's not for everybody. And then once you do some serious striking, grappling can really open up to you, and you can realize, yeah, grappling is everything I thought striking was psychologically. Like, you can still compete, and you don't have to damage somebody. You don't have to violate somebody's face, if you will. I mean, you can. You absolutely can. There are plenty of grappling techniques to violate somebody's face. Front face lock, for example. Get your radius bone right under the nose and put on a that front face lock from the back. or rear face lock, I should say. Brave Little Spidey says, most people don't enjoy delivering pain. It's an unnatural thing. That's why people do stop at a certain point of causing damage. Yeah, weirdly, that's true. Well, we didn't even get to the truly horrendous parts of Reddit, most of which seem to be attacking my religious beliefs. I read like no less than 30 comments on Reddit, 30 at least, that said, well, Ramsey Dewey is a Mormon, and so you can disregard everything he says about everything because Mormons are weird, ha ha ha. Yeah. That's something they said. A lot of people said that. It never ceases to amaze me how people are incredibly willing to dehumanize Mormons. I made a video about this a while back, calling out a comedian who appeared on a podcast, and the comedian was saying some pretty gross things about the Mormons that, one, weren't true, and two, were just dehumanizing. And I made a video calling him out about it, and then I said, this is bad because when you dehumanize people, you can justify murdering them. My exact words. And what happened? What happened? Well, yeah. In the last couple of weeks, somebody decided it was okay to dehumanize the Mormons enough to go and murder them. But that's not a new thing. That's not a new thing, people shooting up churches and exploding them and burning them down. That's not a new thing. That's been happening as long as there have been Mormons. We have been a marginalized, persecuted religious minority. And people don't like to hear that, but it's the truth. And for some reason, the Mormons are among the only persecuted religious minorities where people still feel like it's okay to dehumanize and mock, etc., etc., and apparently murder at this point in history. So it's interesting that on that video, where I called out that comedian and the podcaster on their dehumanizing speech, a lot of people in the comments, not a few, but a lot, said, what difference does it make? This is harmless. This is just harmless fun. It doesn't do anything. You know, for the average person who detests violence, yeah, you're going to hear that and maybe you'll laugh. But then there are the people who don't detest violence, who are going to act on it. SBV says, Reddit told me the Mormons were evil, but my own experiences with Mormons, all of them online, happen to be nothing but a net positive. Well, cool. Yeah, it's been a strange last couple of weeks. You guys want to talk about that? Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about let's talk about violence in America, man. It's a problem. Brave Little Spidey said, the Mormons at my dojo can kick my ass. Yeah, Mormons are not pacifists. This is something a lot of people, for some reason, have this idea that Mormons are supposed to be pacifists who lie down like a doormat and let you walk all over them. Nope. First Wave Negativity says, hi, Ramsey, is there a particular rivalry between Mormons and Baptists? There is not a particular rivalry from Mormons to Baptists. However, I do know some Baptists who have some very, how can I put this? intense opinions about the Mormons. I'll leave it at that. Martial Geek sends in a super chat and says, unfortunately, I won't be able to follow the entire stream today, so here's a super chat instead. Haha. Hey, thank you, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate the super chat. Because once again, YouTube pays less than minimum wage. So I do appreciate it. Jeffrey Epstein Studios or Super Friend says, everyone is someone else's devil worshiper. Yeah, man. I wrote a script about the Church of Satan. I wrote a script for a video about the Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple and the specific tenets that they follow and how incredibly popular these tenets are in the world today amongst people who don't actually consider themselves religious or satanic, and certainly wouldn't consider themselves satanic, and yet they openly and actively embrace and endorse the tenets of the Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple. So maybe I'll get around to making that video essay at some point. It's scripted. I mean, I got the script. It's long. I just need to record it at some point. SBV says, I absolutely believe anyone with a functioning body can be good at martial arts regardless of age. Yeah, for sure. It's also good to draw the distinction between exceptional elite level athlete and good at martial arts. I mean, if you're an able-bodied person, you can get good at jiu-jitsu, you can get good at karate, you can get good at taekwondo, kickboxing, etc. Can anybody become the most elite MMA champion in the world? No. But can anybody become good? Sure. All right, guys, I think I'm going to hang it up today. I appreciate the chat. I appreciate the super chats. Appreciate the questions. And yeah, hopefully we'll be back sooner. I got one question yesterday from somebody saying, Ramsey, is there a schedule for your live streams? And the answer is no. I do live streams, 1, when I have time to do it, and 2, when my internet connection is working. Anyway, now get out there and train.